Hi all, I've been blasting some keys with my Fury Warrior and loving it so much. This spec is a ton of fun from what I've played of it on the War Within beta doing Mythic Plus dungeons. Gonna give you guys my impressions of the hero talents, survivability, how it feels to play, and just overall what I think of it at the moment. If you guys have any questions or want to share your thoughts, leave them down in the comments below. Let's start with hero talents. We've got Slayer and Mountain Thane. Slayer is absolutely fantastic to play in my opinion. Its focus is on marking enemies for execution, buffing our execute, and overwhelming enemies' defenses with an onslaught of attacks and with a high priority on Blade Storm. It's fast-paced, feels like you always have something to press, and it flows incredibly well. Not to mention our damage on the beta is actually insane. We can rip threat like no other, it's wild. We get Slayer's Dominance that makes it so our attacks have a chance to trigger Slayer's Strike, which deals some damage but marks them for execution, increasing the damage they take from our execute by 10% that can stack up to 3 times. We get Overwhelming Blades that makes it so each strike of Blade Storm affects all enemies, which increases the damage we deal to them by 1% with a maximum of 10 stacks for 20 seconds, which I love. Another big part of the tree is Unrelenting Onslaught. When we execute a target that's been marked, we reduce the cooldown of our Blade Storm and apply stacks of Overwhelmed. This hero talent also allows us to use our Interrupt and Stormbolt while Blade Storming, which is so freaking good. A talent I really enjoy is Reap the Storm, which makes it so our Bloodthirst has a 20% chance to unleash a whirlwind-like ability, applying Overwhelm and doing some decent damage. It looks super satisfying. Most of the other choice nodes buff some abilities like Raging Blow, we get more self-healing, and higher crit chance for execute. We also have a fun choice node for a little bit more mobility with Vicious Agility or Relentless Pursuit, both of which feel great. Mountain Thane feels a little more disjointed to me, but still good. You're kind of like Thor, but doesn't feel quite as satisfying to play with Fury as it did with Prot in my opinion. Maybe just because the damage isn't nearly what Slayer can produce from what I've tested on the beta, but that could change with tuning. Mountain Thane focuses on summoning down Lightning Strikes and Thunder Blast to blow away your foes. You get Lightning Strikes, which makes it so when you damage enemies with Thunderclap, Execute, or Raging Blow, you get a chance to call down a Lightning Bolt, which will happen more often during Avatar. Thunder Blast gives Bloodthirst a chance to turn our Thunderclap into Thunder Blast to deal quite a bit of damage and generate some rage. Avatar of the Storm gives our Lightning Strikes a chance to grant us Avatar for a few seconds, and we get charges of Thunder Blast, which feels sick. Our hero talents nodes gives a space damage increases to some of our abilities. Lightning Strikes can hit more foes, and just extra nodes that grant us more Lightning Strikes or Thunder Blast. We get a couple of solid utility nodes with Stormbolt and Storm Shield, with Stormbolts being my go-to for sure. We also get a defensive choice node of Keep Your Feet on the Ground that reduces damage we take by quite a bit, or Steadfast as the Peaks for extra stamina and buffs our impending victory to increase our max HP by 10% for a few seconds, and when it expires we get healed extra. Both of those choices feel great. Tier set is pretty good. 2 set makes Bloodthirst buff our damage of our Rampage by 10%. 4 set increases the damage of our next Bloodthirst by 10 to 20% if our Raging Blow resets its own cooldown, which happens a lot. Kind of like our 4 set, because I think it'll have some min-maxing to it, to increasing our damage, which might be kind of fun to track, but it won't mess up our rotation. Utility is pretty close to the same as we had before, with a little bit extra CC, with Stormbolt being able to interrupt with during Blade Storm and some mobility options, which I like. Survivability wise, you are definitely not squishy, which I love. We've got the same CDs as Dragonflight, but we do have a pretty solid amount of additional survivability thanks to some of our hero talents, and Fury has always done a decent job with self-healing. I think we're sitting in a great spot going into the War Within. I love the shit out of Fury. If you've watched the channel for a while or hung out and stream, you probably already know that, and I'm beyond pumped to play it in the War Within. Slayer feels absolutely fantastic to play. I feel like it's been so long since I've been able to run Blade Storm and for it to feel viable with Fury, but man, oh man, does it feel good. It's really fast paced, you hit like a truck, it's so fluid, and I really can't see myself getting bored of it. Mountain Thane feels decent. I like the idea of being a Thor with 2 giant hammers and striking down enemies with lightning, but it just doesn't feel as fluid to me as Slayer does. I love seeing Thunder striking the enemies though, using Thunderclap as part of my rotation, and the utility and defensive nodes are great. I'll probably dabble in it, but with how good Slayer is, if it stays that way and we're doing damage like we are in the beta for the War Within, then I'll probably stick with it. Overall, I highly recommend picking up Fury for this next expansion. If you've never played it before, it would be a great time to jump in, and it isn't difficult to pick up. If you've liked it in Dragonflight, you'll love it in the War Within. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll have a lot more videos covering different specs and classes and more for the War Within, so hit that sub button and keep an eye out for those. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.